everybody. Welcome back to the 5 o'clock Sweats podcast, the podcast where we like to talk about the things we like to do when we're not on the clock working. Today, we have our first episode of 2025. It is Chris and I to start the new year off. And tonight we're going to be talking about the first big game to come out in 2025. Or did this technically come out in 2024? This was a December release, I think.
Yeah, this was 2024, but we'll call it. I mean, for all intents and purposes, season 1 has launched in, in the new year. Season 0 was, I'm not going to call it a beta, but it was kind of like a running beta,
Yeah. We are, of course, talking about none other than Marvel Rivals, the hero shooter that's taken the gaming world by storm and is by far the biggest game on pretty much any platform right now. I mean, everybody seems to be playing this game. I mean, they've reached peaks of 400,000 plus players when the game was first launched, and kind of reminiscent of Helldivers 2 when that first released, how it just kind of blew up on the internet and people were flocking to their PlayStations and PCs to play it. But yeah, this game has just taken the world by storm, and it's taken me by storm. I am in love with this game. I cannot stop playing it. I can't stop thinking about it. And I really haven't been captivated by a game like this probably since Apex Legends. I've said on this podcast before how much I love Apex Legends. Unfortunately, it's fallen off a cliff over the last year, and I haven't really had any desire to touch it. Even more so now that Marvel Rivals is out, and it's consumed my gaming life. And it's kind of revitalized my love of gaming. I really just was in a rut gaming wise. I've said that before as well. But playing this game just kind of has rekindled the spark or the fire that was in me to game and compete. And it's been great. I mean, it's a welcome change to start the year. I'm kind of getting back to some old habits that I used to have. I mean, I'm at the gym. I'm thinking about this game. I'm watching Tim the Tatman playing, streaming this and grinding to Eternal. And I'm looking up YouTube videos on hero mechanics and how to play certain heroes, and my entire Twitter, my algorithm is all Marvel Rivals on Insta and on Twitter and everything. I'm just getting fed this game basically daily, and and I can't stop playing it, and I'm addicted. How do you feel about the game, Chris?
Well, yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I will say it's been a long time since I've had a game where I really wanted to grind ranked. The last real grind I did solo was, I was doing a lot of grinding in Warzone ranked, and I would say that was back in the spring and summer. Which is fun. I really kind of like any game that I can get behind that has a fun ranked system. It's that added layer of progression and, kind of feeds that competitive nature. I think Rivals has done that. I will say this, Rivals was oddly enough the game to make me buy a PlayStation.
That is crazy.
After the holidays, I got a PS5 Pro because, well, to be honest, I have this wonderful gaming PC, and I was playing Rivals on that, and, we were playing quick play and everything, and that was great. And then, we realized we can't play ranked PC and console, right? So there's no crossplay for that. So I was like, shit. And I really saw and still see myself, heavily investing time into this game for ranked. And so I was like, all right, I'll bite the bullet. There's obvious other reasons why I got a PS5, but, I think it's just kind of scratching that itch. And it like you said, it's kind of got me losing sleep over it, thinking about it, kind of when I probably shouldn't be thinking about it. And, watching videos on certain heroes I play, kind of learning. And I think that's the exciting part of a game like this is at the surface, it looks like a Marvel game with superheroes just kind of brawling it out. But as anybody knows, if they played Overwatch or really any kind of competitive game, there's always more and more layers. You can go deeper and deeper. And, I'm learning a lot of the mechanics and different, just different tech with different heroes
Mm-hmm.
and kind of how high the skill ceiling is. It's not even reached its peak yet, but how high it can be. And I think that's exciting.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of frustration though. It's giving me a little PTSD to when I have like very visceral responses to ranked in this game. Like there's times where I actually am just like straight up pissed off. Like it'll like ruin my mood, and I have to kind
Oh
of take
yeah.
a step back and be like, okay, it's just there's plenty of time. You know what I mean? Like the goal is to just keep getting better. I'm certainly not going to be any top player, so I need to sort of cool it a little bit. But it's fun to to play and try to climb the ranks. And I think for me too, what's exciting about this game is, as you know, I've never been like a big Marvel guy. I'm not like a real big superhero person or into comics and whatnot. But this game has actually gotten me into it a little bit. Not that I'm going to be watching like the Marvel movies,
He's
but
gonna watch all the movies,
it
all the
is.
shows.
It's opened me up to the heroes and a little bit of like kind of their lore and what they do. And it's interesting to see how their I don't want to say real life, but their movie or comic book counterparts actually translate, like their kit. How does it translate into the game?
Yeah.
Because some people that you think might be a certain role in the game are actually not, and it's pretty neat to see that. So yeah. Yeah, so I was just saying, it's definitely topping the charts pretty much on all platforms, and I really think this game is just going to continue to grow. I think what it has going for it is obviously the Marvel IP, which can attract really any fan base, casual or competitive. And then I think once people get into it, it really sinks its hooks into you, and you really see like, all right, there's a lot going for this game, and hopefully, the sky's the limit.
Yeah. No, the fact that this game is riding the coattails of Marvel definitely helps. I mean, it's brought in a whole new audience probably to the genre. Um, and there's people that are just flocking to this game just based off the fact that it's Marvel and it's got a ton of characters. It has like I think like as of now like 39, almost 40 characters of the two new ones they added recently. And yeah, I mean, and it's just like, I mean, I'm a Marvel fan. Like I've watched most of the Marvel movies. I'm not like a big Marvel comics fan. I haven't really read the comics. I don't really know too much about like anything outside of like the MCU. I'm not too keen on, or like the X-Men movies. But I recognize pretty much all the characters, if not most, like 90% of the characters that are in the game, and it's definitely helps like me connect to it more. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm here playing it and addicted to it because it's just a fun game to play.
Mm-hmm.
But I would be lying if, like, the fact that it's Marvel, like a familiar IP that I've been a fan of for years, and then just the way they've treated these characters and like the presentation, the character designs, like it's just top notch. Like everybody in this game looks fucking cool, and I just like the art style and just presentation of the game in general is really what just drew me to it to begin with. Um, and yeah, they've done a really good job of recreating these characters in the game, and even like all their skins and everything, like the different skins in the store, how they have like their skins from the movies and whatnot that you can buy and equip. I just think they've done an excellent job, just like fully embracing Marvel and just like really using that as like a launching pad for this game. But on
Yeah.
top of that, the game is just also fundamentally incredible and polished and fun.
I wonder sometimes, like, if this game was, if it had nothing to do with Marvel, right? Like, let's say the heroes were still kind of what they were, but they weren't specific Marvel heroes. Would it be as popular? And
Mm,
I can't tell. Like, is it the gameplay that keeps me going, or is it the fact that it's like recognizable heroes
yeah.
and you know what I mean? Because it's like, oh, like I've always wanted to play as Hulk or Wolverine or whatever it might be.
Hmm.
I wonder that, or would it just be like an Overwatch clone at that point, and would people kind of shoot it down?
Yeah, I think you would have a bit of that effect. Like people basically what Power World was for Pokemon. Like people like, oh, it's just an Overwatch clone. Um, if these characters weren't recognizable, like
Yeah,
established characters, because a lot of their powers, I will admit, are similar to Overwatch characters, even though like it fits their character. Like it makes sense that like Star-Lord would have like the auto aim Soldier 76 ultimate, or it makes sense that Wanda would have like the and I forget the character from Overwatch, but has like that auto aim like magic attack that you can't mess with. It makes sense for a character because like that's what her attacks look like and powers look like in the movies and the comics and everything. So yeah, I think the Marvel IP definitely elevates this game. I don't think it would be as popular if Marvel wasn't attached to it. I think it would. I would think it would be doing well anyway, just because of how polished and fun the game is to play. But having all of these characters and having a familiar IP, and not just a familiar IP, like arguably one of the biggest IPs in the world with Marvel, even though like the MCU has kind of fallen off the last couple of years, but it's still like it's still a thing that's in people's heads, like especially if you're like if you love pop culture or whatever, or movies, like it's just always there.
Well, I think it kind of proves, though, right, that because I think for a little while there was this concern that maybe there's like a little Marvel or like superhero fatigue just in pop culture in general. And I think this kind of shoots that theory down is, perhaps there's not. It's just, the way in which they were being utilized wasn't, new and exciting. And then this is kind of a reimagined version of all that. And I think it's really cool, too, that with all the heroes that are available, like there's a lot of potential left, for additional heroes, for obviously like cosmetics, for, possible reworks of certain heroes, like who knows, maybe down the line we see heroes change roles completely and get kind of moved around.
I could see that.
And their kits changing. Like, I don't know, but I think that's kind of like an interesting thing. But, for me, I think it is a good blend of something you already know and then a lot of new. And I think ultimately, though, to avoid the same fate as Overwatch, I think they're going to have to keep pumping content like pretty crazy. And I think they're going to have to keep their monetization like a fairly straightforward deal. Because I know in Overwatch there was a lot of like loot crates, I think, and I think that was an issue for a long time. People kind of had problems with the way they monetized their game, and so far this game I think has actually been under monetized. Not that I want it to do more, but I really think they could be. I think we talked about this. I think they could be pumping out a shit ton more cosmetics at once. Like multiple variations of every hero, like. Even just like recolors and stuff, which again, I'm not saying I want that, but I'm surprised that that's not happening already.
Yeah, this is one of the few live service games where the microtransactions aren't egregious, and they also like, some games you boot it up and then it's just like you're slammed with like buy this,
ads.
Buy that, buy the battle pass. Yeah, basically ads. Buy the battle pass, buy this skin. Spend your money. This game doesn't do that. It doesn't like try to take your money. It's just like, here's, you see the store up on the tab and you can go over and check it out. Like, it's not like in your face, like, we have all this cool shit, spend your money.
Actually, I'll say kind of to its detriment, it's not like that, because I remember looking at the battle pass and like the first few times I was trying to look at the battle pass, I couldn't figure out how the fuck to like look at the whole thing. I could find how to buy it, but I couldn't actually open up and scroll through the battle pass, which eventually I figured it out, but it wasn't as obvious as I thought it would be.
And I haven't bought the battle pass, but like the rewards look dope. Like all the skins in there look really sick. Like there's a really cool Doctor Strange one. There's a really cool Mantis one that I actually kind of want because I do play a lot of Mantis. But and I think it's only like $5 for the battle pass. And they took a page out of Halo Infinite's book where the battle passes don't expire, I don't believe. So you can always go back and buy one. I forget if it's that or if you buy it, then you can basically grind it whenever.
I think I think you can always go back and unlock stuff because it's based on that currency. So you build up those points and you use those points in the battle pass to unlock things.
Yeah.
I will say this. I think the tough thing that I've kind of had with that game is, for example, Apex Legends has a good amount of legends, but not to the extent of this game. And I think it makes it hard for cosmetics because there's a lot of times where I'm like, ooh, I really like that cosmetic, that skin, whatever, but it's like somebody I'll never play or I rarely play, or that always gets picked before I can get to them, right? So it's like
Yeah.
kind of deters you from buying it. And then a lot of the, the characters I do play, might not have skins I like or might not really have a skin out. So it's a little bit of like a waiting game.
Yeah, well, the good thing is that there are hundreds of costumes and whatnot that they can pull from. Like, I think Marvel's been around for like almost 90 years. So they have that many years of costumes and other source
Yeah.
material to pull from. So there will be plenty of cosmetics for every hero. And yeah, I mean, I like what they did to start. I like how like all the like most of the skins in the store, there's some seasonal ones, like there were some winter themed ones. Obviously, the notoriously the one for Invisible Woman in the store right now, which they
Yeah.
advertise, is comic accurate, but it's gotten a lot of attention for other reasons. But
It's augmented for sure.
it's definitely augmented in certain areas. But I like how they started like with all the movie skins. Like most of the people playing this game have seen MCU movies. So they're going to be familiar with a lot of those skins, and maybe it's like one of their favorite movies. Like, oh, I loved Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Let me pick up this Star-Lord Guardians of the Galaxy 3 skin. He looks sick.
Yeah.
Or there's some Thor ones where he has a cape, because I know a lot of people were upset that like the default Thor skin doesn't have a cape. So there's ones where you can get a cape, and he looks pretty cool. But yeah, the monetization of this game I think is perfect. Like the skins, again, the skins are a little expensive, like what, like pushing $20. But I
Yeah.
think that since the game is so polished, so fun, and that they've done such a great job putting all of their resources into making these characters look cool, and the skins look really cool, that it's worth your investment if you do want to purchase a skin for your favorite character. Like I think, and the fact that the game's third person too helps so much.
Oh yeah, I mean, and it is free to play. I don't have an issue supporting, the devs and everything. And you're right, it does give me a feeling that they worked on the game first and cosmetics and monetization kind of like second.
Yeah.
Whereas there's a lot of games where it feels like that's reversed, where you're getting slapped in the face with these cosmetics at launch. There's a billion cosmetics. They're goofy. They're not lore accurate or even like remotely close to like, the correct theme. And you could just totally tell. Yeah. Well, you could just tell that, the game's just trying to, it's a cash grab. And this doesn't feel like that. So, we'll see obviously down the road if that changes. I'm really excited to kind of see. I don't know if they have, but I would like to see a roadmap.
Yeah, we haven't seen a roadmap yet.
Content down the line. I don't know. It's only season 1, and I'll be honest, this game came out and I like had no idea that it was a thing until all of a sudden people were streaming it, and I was like, oh, what is this?
So I saw Shroud playing it like months ago, like probably like towards the end of the summer. There was a closed beta or something. And some streamers got to play it. And I watched it, I was like, this looks interesting. But there wasn't like a lot of hype around it. It was like, oh, this has potential, but we don't know. And then it comes out, and then it's out, and then obviously it's been a huge hit. And when this game was in beta, when I saw Shroud playing it, I did hear that all the characters, the original plan was for all the characters to not be unlocked on release. And I'm just so happy that they didn't go that route, because that would have been just such like a tedious and annoying thing to do. Like, oh, I can't play as Iron Man because I'm not level like 15. I gotta get to level 15 before I can play Iron Man. I'm just happy that every character's available, and that they can kind of market the game as like, oh, all these famous and well-known characters are able to play just on launch. Like, you don't, like, as soon as you boot up the game, you can play your favorite character.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would have been bad to kind of drip feed it, but thinking about it, actually though, that kind of system, like for example, I know we compare a lot to Apex Legends on this topic, but Apex Legends, right? You had to unlock Legends. And so I remember it kind of made me play other Legends that I might not have otherwise played. You know what I mean? Because I only had a certain amount unlocked and
Hmm.
maybe I'm trying to fulfill a certain role. So I think in a way that could have been possibly a decent thing is, maybe kind of pushing people towards some heroes that, they might not have otherwise played. But I do agree for the overall health of the game and hooking people, getting them hooked on the game early. I think just having everybody available was the right move. And it also allows people because I think they really knew they weren't introducing like a genre of game, right? This is very much like you're stealing Overwatch's players, and I
Hmm.
think they know that. And so they're like, let's just let them jump right over and kind of feel right at home. Learn whoever you want with whatever role that you're typically comfortable with, and just kind of go from there. And I think that's really, how they let everybody hit the ground running is just opening all the heroes from day one.
Yeah.
But I do think it is missing some level of like progression. Not that unlocking characters is really a progression, but I do think they could be adding a little bit more to the characters in terms of like maybe their kit. You know what I mean? Like maybe they have like a secondary ability that, you can unlock, or like a very, controlled kind of skill tree. I don't know. I feel like there's just another layer, but I'm probably wrong in that.
Yeah, I don't think they need to tweak, like, they don't need to go that route with, like, adding abilities that you can unlock or anything. But I do think that there is kind of a progression system in the game already, as I think I've told you. Like, each character has, like, not a skill tree, but there's, like, different challenges. You can do, like, get this number of kills on this character, get this number of assists, damage, etc. And you can unlock, like, different, like, avatars, I guess, or the little thumbnail of your character when you load into the game. Like you can
Mm-hmm.
get different ones of those to show like, oh, like you've mastered this character. Like I think the highest is called Lord, and you get a really uh cool looking thumbnail for your character. It's not that's not the word I'm supposed to be using for it, but that's what I'm going to use. It kind of reminds me of like getting a really cool Pokemon card or like a Magic card. How like it's like special edition and it's all holographic and shit. Like some of these pictures, like you can tell the difference, like when you see like a Lord player in a game, like it just looks really really cool and stands out. So I do think that's cool, and I actually do want to grind certain characters to get that, because I just think it's like you hop in and people like see that like, oh, this guy is like a really good Moon Knight player, like a really good Spider-Man player.
But didn't that happen to us the other day? We ran into that Iron Man and like he wasn't
It
good.
wasn't
Like
good yet.
like does that mean like that's just really like playtime, really?
Yeah, that's true. It's definitely more playtime. The fact that people do have it by now, though, I mean, I think that says a lot. Like the game's been out for a month, maybe just a little over a month, and some of the challenges are like pretty hefty. Like you have to put a lot of put a lot of time in to get it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm no higher than a knight on any of the characters, and I've put in like 70 hours in this game already. Um, and knight is the first tier. Have to put in perspective. So there's still like 3 or 4 tiers I still need to go to get to Lord on any character. So if I put all that time into one character, I probably would have been there by now. But that's another part of this game, another strength of this game, I think, is just like every character is fun in their own way, and you don't really want to grind just one character. Like
Yeah.
you kind of want to learn every character, at least like a couple characters in each role, because the lack of role queue in this game is a hot topic. I personally
Yeah.
don't think there needs to be role queue in this game. I think that would kind of ruin the fun factor and make this game more sweaty than it already is, in competitive at least. I mean, I think that would only be a competitive feature anyway. I don't think that's going to make its way into quick play. But
Uh there's times, I'll be honest, there's days where I really think it needs to happen. But I
I
also
could
see
see
where
it.
you're coming from. But you got to understand you are, like we said before, you are kind of stealing people right from Overwatch. I'm not saying you're ripping off Overwatch, but these are features that I think people kind of come to expect. And yeah, for better or for worse, I don't. I think it's going to eventually make its way to the game. To be honest.
It it probably will. I just hope that it's like, I don't know. I hope that it's only done maybe in the high ranks, like the higher ranks, like any like diamond or above, maybe. Um, because I don't know. I've seen like Apex, for example, that game. Say what you will about like the competitive scene. I know that's basically carrying the game now, but a lot of casuals were turned off from the game because of things that the competitive community wanted that they implemented, and kind of turned the casual players away. And I just don't want that fate for this game. This game definitely has an esports future. Like, it's going to be an esport. It's inevitable. Like, Overwatch is one of the most popular esport games in the world. And
Yeah.
this game is very similar. So it's just going to be a matter of time before it does make its way into the esports scene. But, I just don't want this game to get overly sweaty. Like, it is sweaty. Like, we're playing competitive. Like, it should be sweaty, but I don't know. I don't know if it needs roll queue, but I'm going to trust the developers to implement it when they see fit. I know they've come out and said that it's not a priority right now. That doesn't mean it's not going to be added in the future.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. Maybe later this year. I guess we'll have to see as the game keeps going on how many people are vocal about it. I haven't seen too many people complain about it. I've seen it here and there, but not a lot of. I haven't seen a lot of people clamoring for it. Mostly, I've seen people saying the opposite, like, "Oh, I think the lack of roll queue is a strength of this game."
Yeah, I do feel like they're gonna just kind of go down the same path as Overwatch. And I think they're gonna just try. I mean, I don't know. Right now, I can't tell. Like, are they just trying to be as close to Overwatch as possible, or are they going to take some risks and really kind of make some decisions that are, very much contrary to what Overwatch does, and see if that pays off? Because I'm not an Overwatch player, so I don't know what has been plaguing Overwatch that like people were like basically like ready to jump ship immediately.
I don't know. I mean, I was a big Overwatch player when it first released. I really did love that game, and I basically felt the way I feel about Rivals now back then. And then eventually that shine wore off, and I played other games. But all I know now, and I'm not super tuned into the Overwatch community, but I know the release of Overwatch 2 was basically like a huge cash grab in a lot of people's eyes. They had a lot of promises that were unfulfilled, like a PvE mode. Like, they kept saying, well, we're going to have a PvE mode. And a lot of people were excited about that, and it never happened. And just basically Overwatch 2 was Overwatch 1 with like a new coat of paint.
Yeah.
And just like a lot of unfulfilled promises, and then Blizzard, has that kind of stink to them anyway. So I think people were just fatigued by that game, and just fatigued with Blizzard in general. And this game just kind of came out at the perfect time. Like, there's not really a really popular multiplayer game out there right now. Like, Black Ops 6 kind of died a little bit. It's kind of fallen off. Warzone's in a bad state. Fortnite's still doing its thing, but even Fortnite, people get tired of Fortnite, I'm sure. Apex is on the decline. So it really wasn't like a competitive game out there, a competitive multiplayer game to really fill that void. And this game kind of came out of nowhere, and it's just taken the world by storm. And good for them. Like, they really, I don't know if they planned this, if they saw the forecast, or like they saw the gaming space and like, we need to release now, or if this was always the plan and it just so happened that this is how it worked out. But they really couldn't have picked a better time to release. This is like,
well, 100%. But I think that was like I think it was a huge gamble. Because I'm sure I'm sure they picked this release window. I mean, you don't just like finish a game and be like, oh, I think we'll go next week. Like, it's very much probably like a year or more maybe out. At least the very specific window, I would assume, because there's a lot of red tape and stuff they have to go through just to release something, especially on console. And, I think that was a gamble, betting on Call of Duty to be in such a shitty spot as it is. I would have actually thought that this would be like a summer release game. I always feel like there's games that just like, I understand the theory is like, oh, people aren't playing as much video games in the summer, but I've always felt like if a game could drop in the summer, it would absolutely do numbers, because every year the summer's just like, oh, what game are we going to go back and rehash for a week or two? Mm-hmm. It's like, it's notoriously a very slow, time of year for, new content, because it's really just the hype season for the following, fall. And
Yeah.
but regardless, I mean, it doesn't matter. Obviously, it dropped at a great time and it's doing great. And I don't think they could have, I think they got a little lucky here, and I don't think they could have really, you know, drawn it up any better.
Yeah. And again, like the Marvel IP has definitely helped like the release. Like if this game was just a hero shooter with unknown characters and everything, like I'm not sure if it would be doing the numbers. Like obviously streamers would probably play it, and word of mouth would get through based off that. But again, I think it comes back to the Marvel IP, and this game just really riding the coattails of that in a good way, in a really good way.
Well, sure. I mean, look at X Defiant, right? The whole hero shooter thing. No, I'm just saying, but like, there's so many like hero ability shoot this, move that, capture this game, right? It's like it's all that now. Between Siege, you have Overwatch, Valorant is kind of right. There's abilities and heroes in that. Everything feels like that. And so you're right. I think it would have just fallen into like another, it's just another one of those. It'd be fun for like, a week or two and then fall off. So, yeah, I mean, it's a slam dunk for Marvel.
This is gonna have a reverse.
Well, I don't know what this is gonna do to it.
I think it's gonna get them back like in the good graces a little bit. I think like you're definitely gonna have people, especially people that like aren't big in the MCU before this. Like if people are just playing this, like you might go back and watch the original Avengers movies and be like, oh, these are actually pretty good. But I do think like this is gonna help because there's a Fantastic Four movie coming out this year, I think. And it's got a pretty good cast, and Fantastic Four is the first slate of new characters out of the game for season 1, and I think it's just really good timing. Like that movie's probably going to get a little boost in sales, I would imagine, at the box office with this game coming out. I just think that's definitely going to happen, especially considering that like Invisible Woman and Mr. Fantastic so far are really fun to play and really good characters. That's definitely going to help Marvel out in the long run. Like they're probably like, oh, thank God for this game coming out. It's really going to help our numbers, because like I said, they've been kind of struggling the last couple of years with their movies and shows.
So do we know, like, did Marvel go to this studio and say, we want to make this game, or do you think it was in reverse? We know?
I think it was in reverse. I don't know for sure. I'm sure there's a story out there, but I have to imagine that this studio, because they're a Chinese studio, I think they approached Marvel like, we want to make this game. We have this vision. We want to use your IP. Yeah, I think that'd be kind of weird for Marvel to reach out to this studio and be like, we want to make this game. I don't know. I think they have their hands filled with other things, other projects. And also it would be like a Disney thing. Like Disney would be reaching out to them because it is owned by Disney. So I don't know. That is interesting.
It says Marvel Games approached NetEase to collaborate on the PC game Marvel Rivals.
Okay, yeah, Marvel Games is different.
Wait, have they worked on something else? Is there a mobile game?
Like a Marvel mobile game?
Yeah.
I don't know. And the only other Marvel game I mean, besides like the Spider-Man games on PlayStation, like Marvel vs. Capcom, and then you had the Avengers game that came out a couple years ago that was a complete flop.
Well, so it says, I'm just reading a couple of things, and it says on NetEase's website, and there's an article that they're collaborating with Marvel to make a mobile team-based tactical RPG, a mobile game. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, hey, like this is gonna put them on the map for sure. So, I'm not a mobile game player, but I'm sure there's an audience for that, and they'll probably flock to that game whenever it releases.
Yeah, I was just curious to see kind of how they ended up, together. It's like, because Marvel could contract anybody they wanted, and I'm sure anybody would jump to make a game for them.
That's very true. I mean, this game is, like I said, this game is definitely kind of elevated Marvel in like everyone's minds. Like they're like, because there's a pretty negative connotation with Marvel just in general right now, with like just the movies and shows just being oversaturated and just the quality's not been there.
Yeah,
Like
they're kind of just
Deadpool Wolverine was really good.
milking the cash cow kind of
Yeah,
thing.
basically. And this definitely like brought it back into people's minds in a positive light. And yeah, I mean, again, it's been a win-win for both sides, I think. So I'm excited. As a Marvel fan, I'm excited. As a gaming fan, I'm excited. Yeah, it's a win-win for everybody.
So real quick, I wanted to talk about ranked specifically for a few minutes, and I have a couple thoughts on ranked, but I sort of want to hear your take on how you think it's playing right now. Are there any issues or changes that you'd like to see?
Yeah. Well, I'm addicted to the ranked mode. I think the ranked progression is really good. I know you have different thoughts on this. I like the fact that it's win or loss. Like there's no performance related points. You get demote. You gain points or lose points whether you win or lose. And I think in a game like this, that's important. It kind of brought me back to the old school Halo 2 ranked grind days where literally your rank was dictated on if you won or lost. And it doesn't matter if you had 20 kills, you still lost rank. And I just think it's that simple. I mean, will they tweak it eventually? Maybe. But I would be perfectly fine if they don't, because this is a team game and you need to have good team chemistry. But it is frustrating when you queue into a game and then everyone's insta-locking DPS, which is that's that's probably the biggest complaint I have, is just like people being stupid and not wanting to play comps correctly. And this is where people are like, oh, like role queue is necessary. But then I think like, I still don't think it's I still don't need it. I think people just need to learn other characters. And I think the fact that each character, like all the characters are fun in their own way. And I just think that that's going to help hopefully encourage people to play other characters. Now, I guess we'll see how this game goes as this game goes on and people keep playing it. I'm just hoping that eventually people realize like, okay, I guess I need to adapt my way of playing if I want to actually win games, because nobody likes losing. Like if you're just going to play like DPS every game and you're going to have like a fourth DPS and not have like an extra healer or an extra tank, then and you're losing all these games, you're going to have to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, hey, maybe I should tank. Maybe I should learn tank. Maybe I should learn healer. Because I'm tired of losing every game, because it's not losing in this game. It sucks. It's annoying. It bothers me. Like I get upset. I haven't had a game dictate my mood like this since Apex, and I had a really toxic relationship with Apex. Like I loved that game, but I would like go into these ranked grinds and I would be like losing, and I'd be like, I cannot stop playing until I win. And then you win, and then you want to keep playing, and then you lose again. Like it was just very toxic, and then I would like be in a bad mood and carry it into my like into my like actual life.
Yeah,
and this
no,
game is, yeah.
I got you. I know how you feel. Well, here's my thing. So you kind of just made my point for me. You said losing in this game is very, very frustrating. So I want you to answer just specifically this. Why is it so frustrating to lose?
Well, it's frustrating because most of the times when you're losing because either your team isn't playing like a team, or there's that one person that refuses to adapt. And I don't even care the fact that we're losing points. Like obviously that's the big reason why losing sucks, because you lose points to your rank. But it's frustrating when you can just tell from the first like 2 minutes of the game that you're going to lose, because you just can see your team getting steamrolled, and you're like, well, I guess this is just not in the cards for us. And you can tell kind of early on when you see the other team with like double digit kills and your DPS is struggling to go like over 500. So I don't know. That's why. I mean, that's for me. That's what's most frustrating. And these games they go on for a bit too. So
Yeah, I mean, you suffer when you're getting fucking rolled. You're suffering. So I agree with you, but I think that's kind of making the points that I'm going to have here in terms of the criticism. So, to your point, do you? I think roll queue, and I think if they change the amount of rank that you lose at whether it's a split or the new season, whatever you want to call it. So here's my problem. I think with the D ranking at the start of the season, it was 7 tiers, which is what, two ranks and a tier.
Yeah.
So you had a lot of people that were what, gold, plat,
yeah,
even diamond, that are falling back to like silver and bronze. And so I think partially that's why this first week of this new season has been kind of hell, because you have true bronze and silver players who are starting there and will not get any further, playing with exactly God knows who, because the rank was reset so far back. I think that's the downside of resetting it too hard. I think a rank, or maybe just 2 ranks, but I think a rank in 2 tiers, something like that, I think is a little bit more reasonable than 2 full ranks, especially after having like that very shortened season 0 kind of thing, which was more or less like a beta for rank. So that's kind of my issue right now. I think as time goes on in the season, a lot of that will even out, and you'll really start to, not only you as a player, but the rest of the population will start to land closer to where they really should be. So I think games will be more competitive. But I'm finding that this game is very frustrating to lose because you are 100% at the mercy of your teammates. And I do think, I think because it's Marvel, I'm going to be honest, I think it attracts just, a lot of just kids and casual people. And that's not a problem. But when they go into ranked, and my experience and my climb is not 80, 90% on them. It's 100% related, because this is such a team game, obviously. Yeah. It's dependent on them. And you're right. You start a match and you see 4 DPSs and they will not fucking change, dude.
Yeah.
They're 0-8 and they have like 1,000 damage, and we're like halfway through the match. They will not change. And so what ends up making me pissed off is I play roles that I don't want to play for the sake of the team, but I don't feel like that's often reciprocated by, whoever these randoms are. So it does become frustrating, because you're playing a person, a character, or a role that you don't even really want to play to begin with, and you're still getting fucked on by the other team.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I definitely see that. I do think this game, the one part of comp in this game that I do think is a must is you always need 2 healers. Mm-hmm. Everything else, I mean, I think you should have at least 1 tank. I won a game earlier, although, where we had 4 DPS and 2 healers and we won. I credit that more to the other team just not being that good. But I do think you need at least 2 healers. If you run 1 healer, there's that 1 healer, no matter who they are. They can be the best healer in the world. They can't heal everybody, especially if you have like an Iron Man up in the sky, or if you have like Spider-Man swinging around, like trying to flank and everything. Like, you can only heal so many people. So you need 2 healers.
I agree.
I do think that the team ups in this game, which are a really innovative addition to like this genre, I think that kind of helps mitigate like the need for 2-2-2, like 2 tanks, 2 DPS, and 2 healers. So I do feel like some of the team ups are so powerful that you can get by just based off the team ups alone, and maybe make up for the lack of like a second tank.
And I think it also incentivizes people maybe to fill other roles, right? Like, oh, I wasn't going to play so and so, but the team up is just too effective, so I will, right? And so I
Yeah.
think that's a good thing. I think it's creative too. Um, but there's just something about this where I feel like, don't get me wrong, I've had some very close matches, wins and losses, but I generally feel like it's usually, especially my losses, are a fucking landslide.
Yeah, I've had awful streaks in this game so far. Like I've lost more than I've won. Like the first week it was the opposite, but since I've been grinding ranked, definitely feel like I've lost more than I've won. I've had a few like 4 or 5 game win streaks, but then I just go into like a 4 or 5 game losing streak. And you can't really carry in this game. Like there are certain characters that if you're good with them, you can definitely like you have an advantage for sure. Like if you're a good Spider-Man, or if you're a good like Psylocke player, or if you're a good Doctor Strange player, you can really change the course of a game. Like you can make real game-changing plays, whether it's like killing the other team's backline, like their healers, or like a really clutch Strange portal. But at the end of the day, like your teammates still need to like play as a team and still need to be competent. If
Yes.
there is one squeaky wheel, it's going to be pretty apparent and it's going to make the difference. I do think that, and I've been mostly solo queuing. Like we've played a few games together. We did notice that you cannot play with 5 players. You can either play with 4 or 6 stack, which is interesting. I don't know how I feel about that.
It makes sense.
Does it? I mean, is it because like you can be like a duo can queue in with you? At least they know, like they're communicating and they know each other's play style. Maybe to fill in the other 2 spots. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I think they did it for a reason. Like there's definitely some like
absolutely.
scientific evidence there.
Yeah, I don't know if what the evidence is, or if it's just more like a matchmaking hurdle. You know what I mean?
Maybe that could be it. Maybe it helped the queue times.
Yeah, so I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I would think that would also be a little bit like, I don't know. There's probably like a potential for griefing that way somehow. I don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, yeah, there is a reason for it. I'd be interested if anybody watching or listening, has a little bit more insight into why that is. But yeah, I'm finding that solo queuing is very painful. And that's why I've mostly been playing with you guys. And it's like, honestly, like if people aren't on, I'm not really playing. Because you can easily slide in this game. You get on and have a bad 2 hours and you could set yourself back pretty far.
Yeah, and I have mostly been solo queuing, and I do agree it's a serious grind. But there are games like you do get games where you have really good teammates and it feels great, it looks great, and you can go on some streaks. I think at the end of the day, like you can go into a slide, but you're eventually it's going to even out eventually. I feel like.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. You have to remind yourself is it's kind of like the long haul. What you do in one day, it doesn't really matter a whole much as over the next few weeks. But I think something I've kind of had to do, and I was yelling at you about the other day, is like when we're on a losing streak, I think you have to know when to cut your losses. I swear the game just knows how tilted you are.
Yeah.
And it'll just keep tilting you until you say, okay, you win. I'm going to take a break.
I do. Yeah. So my mindset is I cannot end on a losing streak like that because it'll affect me once when I turn off my Xbox, I'm going to carry it with me. Like I need to end on a positive note or I will not be able to function as well in my actual life. But that's a me problem, obviously.
Yeah, because sometimes
I'm always
that causes the slide.
Yeah,
you could have stopped, and then instead you lost another 4 matches.
Yeah, but we were playing the other day, and we were like on a 4-game slide, and then I feel like the game fed us a bot lobby.
Well,
and
yeah,
we got a pretty easy win. So I feel like the game eventually will be like, okay, we'll throw them an easy dub here to kind of cool them off a bit, to kind of ease the tension a bit. which I appreciate. But yeah, I mean the ranked grind is fun. I still like is fun the right word? It's addicting, I guess. I don't know. Like there's a part of the grind that I really just like, and I think it's more just the game, me wanting to get better at the game.
Mm-hmm.
And playing different characters. Like I don't just play like one or two characters. Like I have like at least 3 to 4 characters in each role that I feel really comfortable playing, and I can kind of expand that a little more. Like honestly, like I feel like I'm better. I know how to play more tanks and healers than I do DPS. Like there's a couple of DPS that I enjoy playing, but personally, I just feel like I contribute more to the team when I'm playing tank or support. But maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just not as maybe it's a skill issue. Maybe.
I mean, it's
Just
true.
not
I
as good
mean,
on
it's like
DPS.
whatever you're best at. There's obvious value to all of them, and I think there's part of me that still thinks at times it's like I think sometimes we're chasing like roles, and would I rather you play a character that you're good with in a role that's maybe not quite needed versus trying to fill a role with somebody that you're pretty ass with? And it's like almost a detriment because it's like we think we have a real tank, but we don't.
Yeah.
Or
That's
we
why I
think
think
we
it's
have a healer, but in fact, like, yes, we have one on paper. There is a healer on the map, but, that person sucks at healing. So it's
yeah,
like,
they're not very comfortable.
and I think people just start swapping too much. Like, they get frantic. And, like, every death they're switching. And I think that's bullshit, too.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a time and place to swap. Like, obviously, if like it's not working, like you've died a few times, or like the enemy is pushing the payload, then yeah, it might be time to change characters. Or if you're communicating with your team, might be time to like switch roles with someone else. Like, I do
Yeah.
feel like that's a positive. I feel like if there was role queue, you wouldn't be able to do that, right? You wouldn't be able to
I'm pretty sure.
swap. You'd be stuck there. So I do feel
But
like that's
sometimes that's
also
not
a
good
positive.
because I've honestly found that people just start swapping. They just get like fucking weird.
I mean, I've also had games where like we've swapped and we've won the game. Like it's helped us.
Yeah.
Like we realized like, oh, this wasn't working, so we changed it up and we ended up winning.
Yeah, it can for sure go both ways, but I think only time will tell. I'm sure they have a lot of data that they're collecting, and I'm sure things will change as as needed, or for the health of the game. But yeah, overall, I'm very happy with Marvel Rivals, and it doesn't matter at this point. I'm kind of hooked.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely hooked. And I don't see myself stopping. Like, I don't see myself not playing this for a while. Like, I'm gonna keep playing it, and I'm gonna keep getting better with different characters. Like, there are some characters in the game I've not touched yet. I've not touched Spider-Man. He scares me. He seems way too hard. But the thing is, like, a really good Spider-Man can change the game. Like, how many times are we playing against a good Spider-Man and we're just like, we curse his name. Like, we hate Spider. Like, I love Spider-Man as a character, but like, I fucking hate Spider-Man in those games. I'm like, this guy will not stop flanking. He's so annoying. He's like a little pest, and he's the smallest hitbox, and he's so hard to kill. But he makes a big difference.
He's a pain in the dick.
Yeah,
him and Iron Fist. Fuck them.
Him and Iron Fist, Psylocke to an extent. Yeah, but again, I just think that this game, it incentivizes people to practice and learn other characters, and I think every character is fun in their own way. I just feel like you're not really getting the most out of this game if you're just playing one character or like one role, especially like if you expand your horizons and practice.
I don't think ranked is the place to practice, and that's something that pisses me off. Is you can totally tell when people are like just goofing off in ranked, and it's like, dude, that's fine. You want to do that, but like, don't do it in ranked. That's all I ask. Is just it bothers me so much that my experience is totally dependent on other people not being like either shitty or just like assholes.
Yeah,
which is it's hard to find people that aren't going to do that.
Yeah, I do agree. Quick plays good to practice, but then also like they have a really nice practice range,
and
like that's how I've learned most of the characters I've played. Like I played quick play obviously because it's a little different, like just practicing in the practice range and then getting in the game. But you can learn all the characters, techniques, and everything. And everything, all the characters are pretty intuitive, so that definitely helps the accessibility factor. But yeah, I mean, take like just take like 10 minutes and like learn a different character. It'll make a big difference. I don't know. I that's what I've had fun with the most. Like I just love, because I would get bored if I was playing just one character. Like if I was just like Iron Manning every game, I would get really bored of that. Like eventually, the fact that there are so many characters to learn really helps the longevity of this game, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. So speaking of that, let's end this now. I'm going to get on Rivals for a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah. So obviously, Chris and I we glazed Rivals a bit. We are addicted to this game. And if you're watching, please comment below. Let us know if you've played Marvel Rivals, who your favorite heroes are, and if you're as frustrated with the ranked grind as we are. You can catch us at 5 o'clock sweats on YouTube, on X, on Instagram, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else where you get your cool and awesome podcasts. And as always, stay sweaty. It's funny because they can't see you.
Thanks.
Go Birds. Technical difficulties.
Never.
I forget what I was talking about.